As sleep wrapped around me like a gentle fog, I remained unaware of the quiet creak of the door opening. Lucas stepped into the room without a sound, carrying with him something far heavier than footsteps, a truth that, once spoken, would forever alter the framework of my reality. Sometimes, the most life-altering revelations don't begin with chaos, but with a calm so deceiving it lulls you into vulnerability. That was precisely how this began, unassumingly, in the silence of the night. It's strange how we reflect on certain moments and realize that everything, in hindsight, started in a way so ordinary we barely noticed the tremor before the quake. Lucas, my stepson, and I were sharing what had felt like just another quiet evening. After James's death, the atmosphere in the house had grown still, heavy, a silence that never truly left. For 2 years, I tried to put my life back together, collecting the scattered shards of who I was. But somewhere in that process, I had lost sight of Lucas, or maybe I hadn't wanted to acknowledge how much he had changed that night. We had curled up on the couch in the living room, watching a film that veered between action and flirtation. I hadn't thought much of it, the way his presence filled the room differently now, the quiet confidence he carried like a second skin. But sitting next to him, I suddenly noticed the breadth of his shoulders, how his once boyish jawline had sharpened. He wasn't a child anymore. He was a man, tall, confident, and composed in a way that made the realization hit me harder than I'd anticipated. I reminded myself quickly, "He's your stepson." I repeated the phrase like a silent mantra, trying to dispel the heat rising to my cheeks. But the movie progressed, and so did the unspoken tension between us. The romantic scenes lit up the screen. I felt Lucas shift beside me. His body angled slightly toward mine, his arm resting lazily along the back of the couch, closing the distance between us inch by inch. I caught him watching me, not casually, but with intent. His eyes seemed to speak volumes he didn't dare utter. There was a depth in his gaze that unsettled me, not because it was unfamiliar, but because it felt unmistakably adult. I told myself again it was nothing. Just a film. Just a misread moment. But deep inside, I could sense the electricity humming between us. It made my pulse quicken and my thoughts scattered. He leaned in just slightly, as though he had something on the tip of his tongue. But instead of words, there was only silence. A heavy, loaded silence that seemed to stretch and deepen with every passing second. His hand was close to mine now, resting casually on the cushion, too close not to notice, too close to ignore. I didn't know if he would touch me. And part of me feared what it would mean if he did. My heart beat furiously in my chest as if echoing the conflict within me. There was fear, a fear of crossing a boundary I never thought I'd stand near. But there was also something else. Something thrilling and unfamiliar. It frightened me that I wasn't repelled by the tension. I was captivated by it. Then came his voice. Soft. Low. Uncertain. "Victoria." He murmured. I turned to face him, startled by the vulnerability in his tone. "Yes, Lucas?" I replied, my voice trembling despite my efforts to steady it. I just wanted to thank you," he said, his eyes holding mine. "Since James passed, you've always been there. You didn't have to, but you stayed. You supported me. You kept the house feeling like a home." His words, though innocent, landed with a powerful weight. It wasn't what he said, but how he said it, the reverence in his tone, the depth in his eyes, the maturity in his expression. I forced a soft smile, trying to keep the moment light. "Of course, Lucas. I'm glad I could be here for you. Your family." He nodded slowly, then added, "It means more than I can say. Your presence, it comforts me." The air between us thickened instantly. I saw it in the way he held his gaze. Felt it in the way he slowly pulled back his hand, only slightly, like resisting a gravitational pull as something had shifted. In that moment, I felt exposed. Vulnerable. Seen. I reminded myself again, he is your stepson. But the internal walls I'd spent years building were no longer as sturdy. That night, something changed in Lucas. I could see it in the way he looked at me, with admiration, warmth, and something unspoken. The boy I had helped raise was gone. Before me now stood a 19-year-old man, handsome, self-assured, and full of emotion he barely knew how to contain, and the truth I tried to avoid was this: I was no longer just a maternal figure in his eyes. Over the following days, his behavior became even more noticeable. During breakfast, he engaged me in deeper conversation, his tone playful, sometimes intimate. He offered to help around the house, something he never used to do. "Let me take care of that, Victoria," he said one morning, reaching for the broom in my hands. "You do everything around here by yourself. You shouldn't have to." I looked at him, momentarily stunned. His sincerity caught me off guard. I saw something new in him, a desire to contribute, to take responsibility, to see me, not just as someone in the house, but as a woman. A woman who'd been alone for far too long. "Thank you, Lucas," I murmured, doing my best to hide the tremble in my voice. But inside, I felt a warmth bloom, a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Later that afternoon, as I prepared dinner, I sensed his eyes on me. He leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching. Not in a way that made me feel uncomfortable, at least not entirely, but in a way that made me aware of myself, of him, of this strange shift taking place between us. The feeling was so strong, I retreated to the bathroom just to collect myself. I stood in front of the mirror, gazing at my reflection. My 40-something face looked back at me, the softness of my features still intact, my waist slim, my posture confident. My hair, a cascade of light brown waves, framed my face just as it had a decade ago. The woman in the mirror was aging gracefully, but more than that, she was still desirable. That realization took my breath away. It had been so long since I had felt that spark, the sense of being wanted. I had nearly forgotten what it felt like to see myself through the eyes of another. And Lucas, knowingly or not, had reminded me. In the days that followed, the moments became more frequent, a hand brushing mine, a lingering glance, a word laced with deeper meaning. He was testing the boundaries between us. And to my surprise, I wasn't pulling away at 18 night. Alone in bed, I wrestled with the thoughts crowding my mind. He's no longer a boy. He's not the child I helped raise. He's a man with emotions, desires, and a gaze that speaks louder than words. What I didn't know then was that this was merely the beginning. That single evening on the couch had ignited something, a question neither of us could yet answer. But the answer, when it came, would change the course of both our lives forever. And I sensed that soon enough a moment would arrive when everything would spiral into an intricate web impossible to unravel. As I returned home one evening, the scene that unfolded before me took my breath away. Candles flickering softly, flowers in vibrant bloom, a table elegantly arranged, all enveloped in a romantic ambience. Above all else, I found myself utterly enchanted by the birthday surprise that Lucas had orchestrated. Initially, I found it hard to accept that it was meant for my birthday. This degree of dedication felt akin to what one might offer for a beloved partner. As Lucas entered the living room to greet me, a sudden clarity washed over me, illuminating the reason behind my earlier thought. She donned a crisp white shirt paired with sleek black trousers. I had never encountered him in this manner before, so composed, so captivating, was impossible to look away from. I wanted to make this day special for Yoha. Said a faint smile graced his lips. She then presented me with a boxes. I unwrapped it and beheld the dress nestled within. I turned to him, my expression a mixture of disbelief and astonishment. The dress was a breathtaking shade of bold red, featuring a luxuriously soft textura, daringly deep open back, and an alluring high sleeves. Soon as it came into view, a rush of exhilaration and uncertainty surged within me. "Did you really purchase this for me?" inquired, taken aback. "Certainly. Today marks the celebration of your birth, and I wished for you to don something truly exceptional. I am sure it'll look amazing on Yoha," said his voice steady yet his gaze burned with intensity. With the dress in hand, I made my way to my room. As I stood before the mirror, the gentle caress of the soft red fabric against my skin awakened a sensation I hadn't encountered in ages. I slipped into the dress. It struck me that I hadn't adorned myself in anything that so elegantly highlighted my figure in years. My elongated legs emerged gracefully from the slit, while the contour of my waist and the sleek line of my back harmoniously enhanced the dress's exquisite design. I gazed at my reflection, and after a brief moment of quiet contemplation, a smile crept across my face as I murmured to myself, "This is absurd. I'm preparing for Lucas, and I must say this dress truly makes me look stunning." I examined my reflection with greater scrutiny, confronting the truths I had long overlooked. Indeed, I found myself in my late 40s. This dress transported me back to the exuberance of my 20s. My skin remained smooth, me Light brown hair cascaded gently around my shoulders, elegantly framing my face, and within me stirred a thrill, a sensation I hadn't experienced in quite some time. With a deep breath, I stepped out of the room as I descended into the living room. Lucas's gaze met mine, unwavering and intense. His gaze upon me rendered the world around us even more dreamlike. His gaze was unmistakably filled with admiration. With a smile I remarked, "I owe this to you. The dress is nothing short of extraordinary." Yet I averted my gaze in a moment of embarrassment. Under Lucas's intense gaze, I felt a wave of self-consciousness wash over me, and I knew I was right. Lucas remarked, his gaze unwavering, "You look absolutely stunning in that dress." Upon receiving such a forthright compliment, my heart began to race, yet I attempted to downplay it, responding, "With your exaggerating." Lucas led me to the meticulously arranged table he had set up. 12 wine glasses stood poised while a bottle of red wine rested gracefully in the center. For a fleeting instant I sensed that I had been transported to a wholly different narrative. This occasion lacked the essence of a birthday celebration. Instead, it resembled an intimate dinner for two. Yet I remained silent, captivated by the enveloping atmosphere. Lucas uncorked the wine and filled our glasses with its rich flowing essence. Gentle melodies floated through the air while the wine bestowed a comforting sweetness upon our tongues. Initially our dialogue revolved around the past, touching upon Marcus and the transformations that have shaped our lives. As the evening unfolded, I observed Lucas gradually guiding the conversation toward a realm far more intimate. "Victoria," he said abruptly, his voice gentle yet imbued with gravity, "how is it possible for a woman like you to be alone? I simply cannot comprehend it." Her gazes met, leaving me utterly speechless. "Lucas, solitude isn't always a matter of preference. Life possesses an uncanny ability to isolate you," I remarked, yet within his gaze lingered a profound depth. "You needn't remain by yourself," remarked, raising his glass to his lips. "A woman such as yourself has desires, Victoria, and I am here for you." The words lodged themselves in my throat. His words resonated within me in ways I had not anticipated. I lifted my glass to my lips and savored another sip, yet my gaze remained fixed on Lucas. This birthday had ceased to be merely a celebration, it was evolving into something entirely distinct. As Lucas placed his wine glass on the table, his gaze remained fixed on me, unwavering and intense. "Victoria, you appear truly magnificent. I wanted this night to be special for you because you deserve it," said his voice low yet resolute. A timid smile graced my lips as I idly twirled my glass in hand. "That's truly kind of you to express, Lucas, yet I occasionally ponder the reasons behind your considerable effort," I remarked. Lucas arched an eyebrow ever so slightly and responded, "Because you deserve it. You're not merely a stepmom, Victoria, you embody so much more than that." His tone resonated with a profoundness that both astonished and profoundly touched me. That fleeting instant, our gazes remained locked, unyielding to the world around us. The stillness that enveloped us only heightened the strain in the air. My heart raced, yet I found myself unable to utter a single word that might shatter the stillness of the moment. Lucas gradually rose from his chair, meandered around the table, and approached me with a deliberate pace. With his hand resting on the edge of the table, he leaned in closer to me. "Victoria, you deserve someone who appreciates you for everything you've done and all that you are." Remarked that no one should ever underestimate a woman like you. Lucas, I started, yet words eluded me. The words lodged themselves in my throat just as I was on the verge of uttering my thoughts. Lucas drew nearer, his face hovering close to mine. "I can't conceal my feelings any longer," murmured, and then his lips brushed against mine. That kiss utterly disoriented me. A surge of passion enveloped me, a warmth radiating through my veins, a connection that had long eluded me for years, and glided gently to my waist, drawing me nearer to him. A moment of shock swiftly transformed into an impulse I found irresistible to act upon. Our lips remained entwined for what seemed like an endless moment, as if time itself had paused. Yet in an instant the weight of reality descended upon me. Gradually distanced myself from Lucas, utterly breathless. "Text, this isn't right," I said, me voice quivering with uncertainty. "Lucas, I must retreat to my room," was all I could muster to express. Lucas met my gaze and inhaled deeply. "Apologies, Victoria, but I found it impossible to suppress this feeling," stated, his tone steady yet imbued with an inner intensity. Silently, I rose and rushed to my room. Upon entering, I closed the door firmly behind me and leaned against it, inhaling deeply. My heart raced as I struggled to assemble the fragments of what had just transpired. I settled onto the edge of my bed, me gaze drifting toward the mirror. Even my reflection appeared powerless to rid itself of the burden of that moment. "What led to this unfolding?" I murmured softly to myself, the tempest swirling within my thoughts intertwined with the lingering effects of the wine gently ushered me toward the embrace of my bed. Once my head met the pillow, the flood of emotions and the heaviness of the evening enveloped me. I surrendered to slumber, yet the night had more to reveal. After a while, a subtle sound reached my ears as my eyelids parted. A silhouette loomed at the threshold. The door creaked open, revealing Lucas's silhouette in the soft muted glow of the room. "Victoria," he murmured gently, his voice carried a hushed quality, yet it resonated With an unmistakable resolve, my heart raced once more as he entered the room despite the weight of his own conscience. He stepped inside the door, clicking shut with a finality that echoed his resolve. And that instant the gaze in Lucas's eyes revealed. To Medhat this night was far from finished. The intensity in his eyes and the cadence of his voice enveloped me entirely. My heart raced with such intensity that it seemed on the verge of breaking free from my chest. I realized that words were necessary. Between you, my gaze met his. A torrent of long-buried feelings surged forth, breaking free from their confines. I understand that I must provide you with a response, Lucas, I admitted, my voice quivering yet infused with unfiltered truth. I understand your feelings, but this situation is confusing and I need time to process what's happening between us. The unwavering resolve in Lucas's gaze held me spellbound. The feelings I had long concealed could no longer remain in the shadows. My heart pounded fiercely within me, and I realized I had to reply. Drawing in a deep breath, I composed myself, studying the tremor in my voice. I understand that I must provide you with a response, Lucas, I declared, fixing my gaze upon his. Your sentiments resonate with me, and my desire for you is undeniably. As those words escaped my lips, the blend of astonishment and joy on Lucas's face ignited a wave of courage within me. A gentle smile graced my lips as I momentarily closed my eyes, seeking to collect my thoughts. Please, before I lose my nerve, I said, my hands gliding to my shoulders. Remove entirely or change scene. To introspection, I stared at myself in the mirror, wondering when I had last felt seen or admired. The fabric slipped from my form, cascading to the ground while I remained poised, Lucas's breath hitching, the admiration and longing in his gaze unmistakable. His gaze ignited the thrill surging within me. Without a moment's pause, Lucas drew nearer and our lips connected once more. Before I could respond, he moved closer, but I instinctively stepped back, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. His hands wrapped around my waist, drawing me closer as the kiss intensified it. Last, he softly led me to the betas. We approached the precipice. Lucas's hands gently guided me down onto the mattress, me gaze unwaveringly fixed on his. His presence enveloped me, compelling my total submission. Lucas crouched low, swiftly removed his shirt and flung it away. He knelt on the bed, leaning over me with an intensity that filled the air between us. The fervor and intensity of longing reflected in his gaze ignited an even greater blaze within me. His fingers gently traced my cheek, rediscovering my lips once more. In that instant, the walls that had separated us throughout the years dissolved entirely. A sensation washed over me own I hadn't experienced in more than 2 years. I had completely let go as Lucas pressed Oni, clutched the sheets fervently, me hands tightening around the fabric. As I shut my eyes, I surrendered to the thrill and anticipation surging within me. I opened my eyes and gazed at Lucas. His flushed face and broad shoulders captivated me, making it impossible to resist. I extended my hands to his back and in a brief surge of exhilaration, suggest subtle tension instead. There around us crackled with emotions neither of us could name. Lucas's heartbeat quickened, a clear sign that he must have enjoyed it even more. As my hand rested upon his chest, I could sense the rapid thrum of his heart, and in that instant the room grew quiet. Aguinus, if we both understood this was a boundary we could not cross, or rewrite as metaphor, the emotional boundary between us blurred, leaving me uncertain of what was real and what was imagined. On that day, amidst a conversation filled with romantic musings, I succumbed to slumber. From that moment onward, me life was destined to embark on an entirely new path. In that fleeting night I found myself enveloped in a joy unlike any I had ever known, and it dawned on Medhat this was merely the prologue to something extraordinary. Pay close attention to the unfolding events, for this tale is far from over. Simply remain attentive. If you've journeyed to this point, it's clear that my narrative has resonated with you on a profound level. There is an abundance of insights waiting to be unveiled, and you certainly won't want to overlook a single moment of it. Be sure to tap that follow button